We've complained many times that some of the stories shown in GTA are very inconsistent, as exemplified by the released episode about Ryder and his betrayal, which you could see that the developers came up with quite late looking at the development process of this game. Today, in turn, we'll go through a thread that, in our opinion, is well developed and in which it is very difficult to find any error. As you probably already know from the title of this video, we'll look at two characters, namely Big Bear and B-Dup, and try to see what was the reason the men turned their backs on their gang. At the very beginning, let's check who the characters who are the heroes of today's episode are, and why they're so important that we thought it would be nice to raise a topic that directly concerns them. Both Barry Thorne, aka Big Bear, and Mark Wayne, aka B-Dup, lived almost in the heart of the Grove Street families. To be able to deduce who these men were, we must see a part of the cutscene from the Cleaning the Hood mission.
Man, nobody give a shit about the hood. I do. All they do is sell yay and ruin the place. No crack ever made a gang type.
Oh, no, man.
Man, all they care about is smoking and money.
You can't knock a homie's hustle, sweet.
And Marks ain't soldiers. They idiots trying to be businessmen.
Yeah, but they down with us, man.
All they down with is money. CJ, go down there and show these fools you mean business. These chumps from the ballers are sweating the homies. Go put pressure on them. Let's do it.
Well, at the beginning of the cutscene, Sweet is pissed at how things are inside the gang. He said that you need to sort it out and bring the homies back. The executors of Sweet's demands were to be CJ and Ryder. Given that CJ and Ryder immediately thought of Big Bear and B-Dup, it tells us that both gentlemen must have been someone important to their families. They were likely the OGs. And that means Big Bear and B-Dup must have done quite a bit of service to their gang in the past. However, if we want to get an answer to the main question of this video, we must look at two, in our opinion, extremely important events. The first will be the tragic death of Brian Johnson, the youngest of the Johnson siblings. The death of an innocent child led to Sweet's total mental breakdown, and he stopped caring about the interests of the organization, which then led to serious conflicts within the gang. We know about this thanks to the cut conversation that took place in the mission Beat Down on B-Dup, after Big Bear effectively knocked out B-Dup. You've already seen this included in our episodes many times, but since it's crucial to this one as well, let's take a look at it again.
Anyways, man, Sweet, he just became a hard man to be with, you know? Then we got bad blood with Seville Boulevard families, and they split from the Grove, then Temple, hell, they went Lone Ranger too. Sweet, man, he did absolutely nothing.
Also, as we said a little earlier, the mentally broken Sweet couldn't accept that he lost Brian and CJ, who contributed to the death of the youngest of the Johnsons. To make matters worse, CJ decided to go to Liberty City, at the same time letting Sweet know that he wants to start a new chapter in his life. Unfortunately, these unpleasant circumstances also had a serious impact on the functioning of the families. Sweet's incompetence and disastrous faction management at the time was what led to the individual sets arguing with each other. The situation escalated to such an extent that families became weaker day by day. Each of the sets began to play freelancers and were on their own. This led to families becoming easy prey for Ballas and Vagos. So looking at the situation inside the families after Brian's death, one of the reasons Big Bear and B-Dup stopped helping was that the leader of the set they belonged to couldn't manage the set well, which was heading toward disaster. The Ballas and Vagos became stronger and stronger over time, while families not only did not develop at all, but also had quarrels within the gang. Both men have concluded that their faithful service under the family's flag simply isn't worth much anymore, and it's time to start saving their asses. Moreover, the second event that also had a powerful impact on Big Bear and B-Dup was the crack epidemic. Well, all the street gangs in South Central received from the American government and the CIA another very lucrative source of income, namely cocaine, which, of course, the ghetto gangsters could not afford. For drug dealers to start selling this product, cocaine had to first be converted into a cheaper product that would give an equally great experience. In GTA San Andreas, we have all this very nicely shown. Cocaine was smuggled from South America, then processed in a factory in San Fierro, which, by the way, CJ destroys in the mission Yay Kaboom Boom, and then the finished goods went straight to Los Santos. In the case of Ballas and Vagos, the matter looked very clear. Both gangs were going to take advantage of this, unlike the families and Barrio Los Aztecas. As you perfectly remember, it was Big Smoke who was supposed to be the person responsible for persuading Sweet to enter the crack trade. However, it was to no avail, as Sweet was very stubborn about it and kept refusing. In fact, to his credit, he had very good arguments that crack would poison the gang and the streets. However, his good intentions were also disastrous for the families. By not entering the drug business, Sweet automatically gave an advantage to the other gangs, which entered the business without a moment's thought. If you have more questions on this matter, be sure to watch the episode about the downfall of the families in GTA San Andreas, because this video may give you answers. As always, you'll find the link in the tab. Back to the point, the worst thing is that Sweet, refusing to get into drugs, became a great enemy of people who wanted crack to take over the city. As we all remember, Big Smoke was Tenpenny's scapegoat. The man got a solid amount of money from the corrupt crash unit to make sure that Sweet died. If the plan succeeds, Smoke will get a comfortable position, taking over the Grove Street families and becoming a drug lord at the cost of being Tenpenny's puppet. It was a very smart move on the part of a corrupt cop, considering Big Smoke was supporting the crack epidemic, seeing it as a big money opportunity. As it turns out, Big Smoke wasn't the only one who wanted the drug trade to flourish in the Los Santos area. Well, after the Cleaning the Hood mission, a news report appears on the WCTR radio station, where one of the station's journalists conducted a short interview with B-Dup. Let's listen to it together.
Youth counselors in Los Santos are heading to the streets and meeting one-on-one with members of the community. One citizen told WCTR the real problem with drugs.
They always saying there's too many drugs in the hood. Homie, that's bullshit. Plain bullshit. I mean, way I see it is, it ain't enough drugs in the hood. Ain't nothing like enough, and that's the real problem for people.
Exactly. B-Dup denies that there are too many drugs in the city, but on the contrary, he believes that the city suffers from the shortage of drugs, which, of course, is completely absurd. Anyway, this interview tells us a lot about B-Dup. The man does not hide the fact that he wants the crack epidemic to continue because he, as one of the drug dealers, will draw huge profits from it. Best of all, the man brags about this to CJ during the Cleaning the Hood mission.
CJ, the fuck you want? Get the fuck out of here.
Wait, hold up, man. What happened to for life, nigga?
The only thing that matters is the hood, homie. But you'll never understand what getting this money is like.
But that's not all we can deduce from this situation. Note that this mission directly shows us why Big Smoke chose B-Dup as one of his trusted men. B-Dup agreed with Big Smoke on drugs, so he was one of the ideal candidates. As for Big Bear, it's hard to say whether he also supported the Los Santos crack trade. One thing is for sure, the man was faithful to B-Dup, who was probably his best homie. When B-Dup started dealing crack and offered it to Big Bear was instantly willing to do anything to get high. Again, the mission Cleaning the Hood illustrates this perfectly for us. Big Bear became a slave to B-Dup, and in addition, he seriously lost weight on, let's call it, a cocaine diet. In case anyone here is a bit surprised why we mention this, it's due to the findings of an affiliated group of beta researchers who discovered that Big Bear was initially obese. We know this because this is an unused model in the game files that you can see on the screen right now. What's more, we will find there another model of Big Bear, this time in the colors of families, which is also important for us. Well, this means that there is a chance that initially Big Bear was supposed to appear not only in cutscenes, but also during free roam. And when we add to this the fact that we were originally supposed to take Big Bear to the hospital at the end of the storyline to make him go to rehab, we can say with a high degree of probability that Big Bear was supposed to be another member of the families that we could meet in our territories. If we were to summarize today's episode, Big Bear and B-Dup had several reasons why they stopped working strictly for the families. Both men felt deeply underappreciated by their homies, and the constant quarrels and disorganization within the gang meant that these characters did not see much sense to continue to sacrifice themselves. At one point, seeing all the bad things going on in the families, they thought there's no hope for the gang anymore. Plus, B-Dup saw an opportunity to make a lot of money with crack, which ultimately made him turn his back on the gang. That would be all for today. We recommend you check the next videos on the channel now, including the two you see on the screen, and which, by the way, complement today's story nicely. Take care.